Okay, so we go here, we should see the live stream, and we do, get rid of that, paste that, send that, and then sent. Let me know once you're connected. Smiley face. All right. And then Paragon. Get rid of stuff we don't need. And then I guess we don't need that either. I see your text incoming. All right. All right, you're connected. Fantastic. If you, hello, by the way. Hello and welcome to the live stream. uh, so, yes, if you have questions or if you have any problems hearing the live stream, just text me and I'd be happy to answer those questions. And if there are problems with the live stream, I can restart it. But usually we should be good. Um, okay, so you had asked about, I think you would use an RE10 as an example. So let's scroll down here. We're on the dashboard, atova.com/agents. Once you're logged in, you log into your Paragon account. And then once you're logged in, the splash screen that comes up here, you have Paragon, which of course is the tool that we use to search the MLS, and then you have Instanet, which is the tool that we use to do e-signings, electronic signatures. And I guess actually that's not true. Instanet is the program that we use to draft documents. There's a sister program called Authentisign that you also access within Instanet. So Instanet for drafting the documents, Authentisign for the electronic signatures, but you access both programs through here. So I'll click on Instanet and then we will pull up. So I can go to right here to Instanet Forms, and I can click on that, and I can zoom in here a little bit. So I went to Instanet Forms, and then it brought up this screen. Then I can search for the number 10, and when I search for the number 10, here's all the things that match. There's a lot here because they have a revision 10/18. So let's try RE10. And then you can see it pops up right there. So we can, this is like forms that I've saved in the past. And this is the where you want to click. So we've clicked on here to go to Instanet Forms. Then we did a search for RE10. And now we're going to click here. And when we click here, it prompts us. Do we want to create a new form and start a new transaction, create a new standalone form, or create a new form and add to an existing transaction? So you kind of want to look at this as like folder management. So if this is the first document that I'm doing for a new file, I would click here. because I want to create a new form and I want it to be put into this new transaction folder. If I had already created a document in a transaction folder for a file already, and I wanted to add a new form to it, I of course would click here, create a new form, add to existing transaction. And if I just wanted to bust out a quick document, I don't care about putting it in a transaction. I just want to crank out a form and get it out the door. You can just click here, create new standalone form. So for now, let's pretend that we're doing an RE10 and we have not yet created any other document for this client. So we're going to click on Create New Form, Start a New Transaction. When we do that, it asks you to name the transaction. I usually put this a combination of the client's name and the street name. So we'll just do Smith and then street name. Street name. Okay. And then type, I'll choose a usually residential sale is what we've got. Got a lot of other stuff in here for lands and commercial property, but residential sale is where you're going to be 99% of the time. So click residential sale for type. Import data. So agents can use this to, like if you're writing a purchase and sale agreement, this is particularly valuable because you can import from Intermountain MLS a residential listing with some certain MLS number. And when you select this and you hit create, what the program will do is it will suck in a lot of the data from the MLS listing, like the listing agent's name and the brokerage and the agent's phone number and the agent's email address and the property address and the legal description and the included items and the excluded items. So it automatically populates the purchase and sale agreement from data contained in the listing so that you spend less time copying stuff over. I'm not 100% sure if any of that makes a difference for an RE10. Like, will it pull in the property address? Probably would. Let's just pull up any new listing here so we can get to an MLS number. I want it to be an actual house and not in Burley. Let's get something from Middleton would probably work. Wendell, Caldwell, Nampa. That's a condo. Single family in Declo, Idaho, Buell, Idaho. We have to make a visit to Declo. There we go. Okay, so we're just going to pretend that we're doing an RE10 on this property. So we're going to copy that MLS number. We're going to put it there. Was it residential? Yes, it was. All right, so, and then if we're doing the RE10, odds are we're the selling agent. We're the ones that are selling the property to the buyer. We're the buyer's agent. So selling agent, buyer's agent, synonymous. Seller's agent, listing agent, synonymous. Seller's agent, listing agent, synonymous. Selling agent, buyer's agent, synonymous. So, yep, I'm the selling agent. Open form or use wizard. If you use the wizard, it's just going to ask you like 10,000 questions, and then it will populate the form for you. I like to open the form and then fill out the form. But this is a matter of personal preference. You could try both, see what you like better. So I've plugged in the information. This is just for creating the transaction. So it's creating like a transaction folder, and it's going to also open up the document, the RE10 that I asked it to create. So hitting create here is going to do two things. It's going to create that transaction folder, and it's going to open an RE10, which may or may not populate the address. I think it probably should. Let's take a look. See, so cool. So we have the address was populated, city, state, zip. We have the seller's name, and for this document, that's probably it. So this notice dated That's the date that you're drafting it. So that'll be today. So I click on the little calendar. I click on today's date. This notice pertains to the purchase and sale agreement dated. I'm going to get that from the RE21. So I'm going to look at the RE21. I'm going to see that this is not the day that we got into contract. This is the date on the RE21. So here you're going to date whatever date is at the top of the contract. So like the top, very top right of the contract, I believe. There's the contract date. Whatever that is, put it here. And then also at the top of the contract, the top of the RE21, I believe it's the top left, you have the ID number. Whatever it says there is what you're going to put here. This is a buyer notice to seller. So if we're representing the buyer, we just completed inspection, and now we are submitting repair requests, that's when you'll check this is a buyer notice to the seller. If you're representing a seller and you received an RE10 from a buyer's agent, and the seller is saying, no, we'll repair this, and this, but we're not going to repair that. So now the seller is going to respond with an RE10 of their own, and because it's coming from the seller, we'll check that box. If the buyer then responds to the seller, we go back a third time, the buyer is going to check this box. And we just go back and forth. So this box is really simply to denote and to help us track which party created this document. So if we're drafting an RE10 for the first time, representing the buyer, we'll check this box. This notice pertains to the primary inspection contingency or the secondary inspection contingency for the other stuff like well water and septic and surveys and whatever else, whatever funky stuff you might have. So for normal, not normal, but for residential property that is on city services, you'll only check this box. If you're dealing with a semi-rural or rural property that has well or septic or requires a survey or requires some other special inspection, you can fill out this section when you're doing those secondary inspections. So let's say for now we're just doing a home in a regular subdivision in Boise, and there's just a primary inspection. So we check that box. Down here, number one, the buyer completed their inspections and no repairs are required. The buyer's like, no, it's good. There's some small stuff. We're not worried about it. And so the buyer's just going to sign off approving the home. They check that document. Sorry, they check that item because they're going to just remove their inspection contingency outright. Or the buyer wants to have some things taken care of. So if the buyer wants some stuff fixed, then we check this box, and then we come down to how or like in what method are we asking the seller to fix stuff, or are we not asking them to fix stuff? Maybe we're simply asking them to give us a credit. So let's look at these options. So seller will credit buyer a certain amount. So yeah, there's some work to be done, but we'd rather do it ourselves. So can we ask for $1,000 credit instead of asking the seller to make the repairs? Sure, yeah, we could do that. Check this box, put $1,000 in that blank. Or instead of a credit, we could ask for the seller to simply reduce the price. So if our price was $300,000, maybe we do $299,000, and we check that box instead. That's effectively the same thing, except that a purchase price reduction, this option, if the seller is paying for $1,000 at closing, that $1,000 will not come to the buyer like, hey, here's $1,000, and they count out $100 bills or write him a check. It's nothing like that. What'll happen is that will be credited towards the buyer's closing costs generally, and so because the buyer is now bringing less in closing costs to the table at closing, they're effectively keeping $1,000 more in their pocket. So while they're not getting $1,000, they're keeping $1,000, and so it's the same net result. However, if you do this with a purchase price reduction, you're gonna have all that means is that the purchase price is lower, but if somebody's only financing, let's say putting 20% down, then they're really only going to get a $200 value from that $1,000 price reduction, because the lender is going to loan 80% of 299.9, and so essentially, why would I choose line 39 instead of line 40? Well, because line 39 puts a true $1,000 in my client's pocket, and line 40 means my client is financing less, and so their payment will be marginally smaller. So it's really a question for the client. Which would you prefer? Would you prefer to, you get the point, right? It just comes down to, do you want to have a smaller payment or do you want to keep more cash? And then choose the appropriate box. If there's something special, like we're going to propose something unique, we'll check this box, line 41, other terms listed below, and down here we can specify whatever we want. So if there's some funky request that the buyers have, we can check that box and say, we'll forego the repairs if you throw in the boat and the cow. Whatever, right? We've seen crazy stuff. So if the buyer wants to do something crazy, check that box, stipulate it down here. Most often what you're going to do is these won't be checked. Now, the credit thing does happen. That happens maybe 20-30% of the time now, I suppose. Maybe 20% of the time. So it does happen, but most of the time what you'll be checking is this. Seller is going to repair this stuff. And they've got this many days to do it. So 10 days or 15 days. Now remember, these are business days. So 10 business days really translates into 2 full weeks. So it is customary to put 10 here. That gives the seller 2 weeks from the day that they sign this RE10 to get the work completed. Of course, if the circumstances dictate, you can change this, make it less, make it longer, whatever is appropriate for your situation. So we check this box, seller to repair this stuff. They've got 10 days to do it. And then down here, we're going to call it all out. So we'll say A, B, C, whatever the items are, this is where they're going to go. So, and there's this section here, continues down to there. When I don't have a class for this, but generally what you want to do is, if an inspection comes back and there's 17 items that the buyers want to request be prepared, don't list 17 things here. You list 17 things here, the seller is going to be overwhelmed, exasperated, and just be like, I'm not fixing anything. So what you want to do here is you want to group like kind items together. So the following items to be remediated by a licensed electrician, the exposed wire in the garage outlet by the door, comma, the X item in the kitchen, and the Y item in the loft. And then here it's the following items to be remediated by a licensed plumber. And so when you group like kind items together, you've organized things in such a way that makes it much more easy for the seller to digest. It's not 18 things that we've got to do. It's, we call the plumber, and we call the electrician, and we call the handyman, and we're done. and so you've made it easy for the seller, and therefore you have greatly increased the probability of the seller agreeing to what your buyer is asking for. So you draft the language appropriately there. Um, Down here we have a termination provision. So um, buyers do have a unilateral right to terminate if the inspection doesn't turn out good. So we did the inspection. There's just too much stuff. There's too much concern about this house. Therefore, we want out. They can simply check that box as long as this notice is delivered to the seller in a timely fashion. Um, Primarily before the first inspection contingency time frame has elapsed. So as long as notice to terminate is being delivered prior to expiration of that first inspection contingency time frame, then that will result in the transaction terminating and the buyer being entitled to a refund of their earnest money. Um, so hopefully we're not checking that box. If you ever have a client that wants to just check that box outright, um, push back on that. What you want to do is tell clients that let's get a contractor out and have them research what it would take to solve that problem. And once they've characterized it for us, the inspector just says there's a problem. If we get a contractor out and the contractor reviews things and says, okay, we can fix this if we do A, B, and C, well, then great. And now that we understand what we're dealing with, if we still want to terminate, fine. But if now that we understand things a little bit better, we are maybe willing to move forward, then we can check this box instead and call out what we want to be done. All right, so we've filled out this form. Now we want to send it to the client for their signatures. I don't like, really quick here, I don't like all this abbreviation. And honestly, this should really match whatever you have on the RE21 would be the appropriate thing to put here. So whatever naming convention, abbreviations and all, whatever naming convention exists on the RE21 is probably what you should stick with here. Also, you'll add the buyer's names here. We'll just put in La Cheapy. And then we're going to, sheep don't even say la. Sheep say ba. We're going to rename this person Baba. Baba Sheepy. Okay, so just scanning through, making sure I've got everything correct here. I'm going to NA out all the blanks. Primary inspection, buyer notice to seller, items to be addressed, so I want to check that box. These boxes kind of serve in conjunction with each other, so you're always going to check this one, and then you'll check one of these as well. Oh, I should note that it is okay also to do this, where we're going to ask for $1,000 at closing, and we're going to ask for these things to be repaired. So you can pair things up and if you want to. So we're going to not ask for the floors to be replaced. Instead, we'll ask for $1,000 credit there, but we do want the seller to make these plumbing and electrical repairs. All right, so let's pretend that that's what they want to do. Now that we're done, I want to go up here to File and then choose Save and Save. What that does is it's now saved a copy of that document in my transaction folder. So if I log off and I walk away for 3 days and I come back to the computer, I can open that transaction again, and this form will be sitting here, and I can use it to, make changes or what have you. I don't have to start from scratch because it's saved. That's File, Save, Save. File, Save, PDF will save a PDF locally to the hard drive, so you can email to somebody. So if somebody wants to sign it and actually send it back to you, or somebody just wants to review it, they're not signing anything yet, they just want to look at it, you can save it as a PDF, email them the PDF, and tell them, hey, when you're ready to sign it, once we've got the Once we have this document the way that you want it, let me know. I'll send it to you again for electronic signatures. For now, I've attached a PDF so you can review it and make sure everything is to your satisfaction. Something like that. But usually you're just going to cut straight to the chase and have them sign it. So now that I have created the document and I have saved it, I'm going to click right up here on Sign. So I click on Sign. It says, do you want to create a signing session with this form? And I'm going to say yes. So I click yes. And now this is taking me from AuthentiSign into Instanet. I'm sorry, from Instanet into AuthentiSign. I said that backwards. So here we are, and we are going to, so this is how it comes up every time. What you want to do is go straight to step 2, because there's no advanced options that you'll use. I've never used any of the advanced options. I suppose if you wanted to, you could explore this stuff. Expiration date. So if you want the document to not be signable after a certain date and time, you could use this. But there's no need to, because any document is rescindable prior to its acceptance. So forcing an expiration here, I really don't see the value. Reminders, like if you haven't signed in, let's see if it'll let me do like 4 is the most. I'd be sad it's like 1 minute. Sign. If somebody hasn't signing, I don't want them to get auto. If somebody's not signing in a timely fashion, auto reminders seem kind of tacky. Maybe a friendlier email instead of an automated email would be in order. So I don't use that. AuthentiSign ID position. I don't think this matters at all. Hide signature keys on signed documents. I like the signature keys. It makes it look like the electronic signature is more formal. It shows like, data on the e-signature. So I would not recommend hiding them. So in any case, pretty much never have to do anything here. Simul-sign versus sign in line. Really, I'm trying to think of a scenario where you would want to have people sign in order. So I suppose if you had maybe a husband and wife, and you knew that the wife or the husband wouldn't want to sign until their spouse did, then you could set them up in a certain order, and that way by the time the wife won't get notice or the husband won't get notice to sign until the wife has already signed. But usually it's a simul sign, which is invitation goes out to one party's email, the wife's email, another invitation goes out to the husband's email, and they both sign whenever they want. The order doesn't matter. So this is what you'll use most of the time, first come, first serve, simul sign. I personally have never used that. The signing in line, signing in order, one then the other. But I suppose there's a scenario where that might make sense. Know that sometimes you're going to have two parties that need to sign, but you only have one email address. So if you're sending one to the wife for signatures and another for the husband for signatures, but they both share an email address, or you only have one email address, it is okay to, in the participants section here, so we're going to expand that now. This is step 2. I'm going to expand step 2, and we're going to click Add. And when we click Add, we can, it brings us to this window where we click Add again, and then we click Add again, Add New Participant. And when we click the Add New Participant, we're going to put the person's name in there. So we'll do Bob Jones, and the email is whatever at whatever.com, and then the role is a buyer. So then we click Add if Bob is our only person, or if there's a spouse or a secondary buyer, we can click Add Another right here. Click Add Another, and we can put this up. Roberta Oh my gosh, I forget his last name. I'm not sure if that was the name or not. And then we put in the email address here. And again, if they share the same email address, it is okay to use the same email address twice. And then we'll click add because we're done. Then we have these buyers that we created. Buyer number 1 is Bob Jones. Buyer number 2 is Roberta Smith. And um, we've chosen. So there's a role, buyer 1 role and buyer 2 role. So Bob Jones automatically went into the buyer 1 role. We had to select from the pull down menu that we want Roberta Smith to be in the buyer 2 role. And we'll pretend they're husband and wife, but she kept her name. And then, so we've just chosen who's in what role, and then we hit save. And you can see here that they're here. I don't, Roberta should say buyer underneath here. She doesn't. I'm going to click I for information. Yeah, there she is as a buyer. Let's save the participant again. Okay, it just didn't draw it for some reason. But that's how you check it. So I can make changes here, clicking the I. And, let's say that he told me that his real name is Robert. So I fix that and I hit save. And so that's how you can make changes. And then documents. So we created this document from Instanet, and then we clicked on sign. And so the document has automatically carried forward. That's why we have a green check mark here. Let's pretend, however, that you received an RE10 from a buyer's agent. Now you want your seller to sign. Well, when the buyer's agent sent you that RE10, they sent it as a PDF in an email attachment. So you can save that from your email onto your computer. And then once it's on your computer, you can click on the plus sign here and you can click on add and then upload a file right here. Upload a file. You click on upload a file. It will give you a little window so you can navigate to where the file is. Let's say that you have it in your downloads folder. So you click upload a file, choose downloads, and then it's going to be wherever you have it, right? So choose that, hit open, and then it will it'll upload the file, and when you're done, you can hit close. And now that you've uploaded the file from a PDF, you'll click on design. Now the document that we have, we created in Instanet. Therefore, Authentisign knows already where the parties have to sign. So if it's a document that you created in Instanet, this stuff is already going to be here for your clients to click and sign there and there. But if you uploaded the PDF that another agent sent you, Instanet doesn't know, Authentisign doesn't know where the signature blocks are supposed to go. And so in that instance, let's pretend that we just uploaded a PDF that another agent had emailed you. So we can use drag and drop. So I'm going to click drag and drop here. That pops up some options here. And these options are all going to apply to the buyer that is specified here. So in this case, Robert Jones. So let's pretend that Robert needs to sign like here somewhere. So I'm going to click, hold, and drag to drag Robert's signature there. Then I can click, hold, and drag to bring the date to where it's supposed to go. Then I can change from Robert to Roberta, and then I can drag, drag and drop. Then I can drag for her signature and drag for her date. Go back to Robert. I can do the same thing for initials. If there's an initial I need to make on a page somewhere, I can drag the initial and the date for him, and then I can drag the initial for her and the date for her. And then once I have those things, I can move them around too. So I can put them, kind of position them where I want them to be. Now, normally you won't be putting them out here in the middle of nowhere. Normally you'll have uploaded a PDF, so you'll be dragging this to the appropriate location on the PDF where they're supposed to initial. So for now, I'm just going to delete this stuff. I'm going to hit the little delete key, click on this little delete key, delete key, delete key, and then I can delete this extra stuff I showed you. So again, this drag and drop thing, you're only going to use if you are uploading a PDF that another agent sent you. If you have created the document in Instanet and then you clicked on the sign link, it will know and it will have already auto-populated these things for you. So next thing you do is you just click next. And when you click next, the next thing for you to do is to click send invitations. You click send invitations, and that's exactly what will happen. The client will get email that says you have an electronic signing waiting for you. Please click here to begin. They click that button, and the next thing that happens is they're looking at the document. They can read through. They can click their name to e-sign, and when they're done, e-signing in all the right spots, and it does show them. So when you click on one e-sign, it will automatically take them straight to the next place they need to sign. So it's kind of fail-proof. And when they're done, they click finished, and then you will receive a notice back saying, congratulations, the parties have signed, and then there's a link in that email that you can click to download the document that they just signed. Once you've downloaded that as a PDF, you can then, of course, forward it to the other agent and to the escrow officer and to Susie and get it everywhere it needs to go. So that was, what is that? That's kind of a intro to Instanet and Authenticsign. So that's it for now. Let's see. Question. So do you draft two separate RE10s for primary and secondary? Yeah, that's exactly right. So you'll have if you have a rural property that has well and septic, you will do the regular inspection, and then you will submit an RE10, checking that box that says this is a inspection notice for the primary inspection. And then 6-7 days later, once all the well and septic tests are back, you'll draft another RE10. This time you'll check the other box that says secondary inspection. So yeah, there will be two RE10s for a rural property where well, septic, and or survey and or anything else is involved. So that's it. That's your primer. If you want to use me as kind of a test, feel free to go through this process. Use me as the buyer, and I will sign, and you can get a really good feel for how it works that way. So I'd recommend that you do that pretty much any time. Feel free to use me as your guinea pig, and I'm definitely happy to serve in that capacity. So I guess that's it for now. Thanks a lot, and we'll talk soon. All right, bye-bye.